Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome to Battles of the American Civil War, which I was Bang and Dang, and we are continuing on with the year of 1864, as well as continuing on with the Atlanta campaign and the Siege of Petersburg.
Ooh.
We got a little bit of change of pace on this one because we are headed to Dakota Territory, where Union Brigadier General Alfred Sully and his expedition against the Sioux is taking place here at the Battle of Killdeer Mountain.
Who landed the plane in Hudson?
No, that was Sully Sullenberger or something like that. His name is Chelsea, I think.
Oh, he was drunk, wasn't he?
He was not drunk. Birds hit the plane.
Oh, that was Denzel
The
Washington.
engine. Yeah, totally fiction. This was real. Yeah, we got that. And like I said, Atlanta campaign, Ezra Church, and then the Battle of the Crater, which we set up, I think, last episode, and the Siege of Petersburg. Before we get to that, go check out our YouTube, where we have now just officially went over 500 subscribers, which means we get to hopefully potentially earn some money from you guys. Hey. If you want, you can go to YouTube, click the little join button on our page at Bang Dang Network, and for just 99 cents, you get these episodes at least a day early. If you are, well, I guess at the time of recording this, our last episode is not, what am I trying to say here? We're recording this Thursday, the 18th. Usually our episodes obviously come out on Friday, but our Friday episode of the 19th has been out for 3 days, if you were a member. So you get it at least a day early, and you get to brag to people that you've already heard us be retards. Right. And so, 99 cents. And then we're still debating on another tier if we want to do video versions of the podcast. Not sure about that yet. Probably need a better setup. But either or, click join. If not, then if you're listening on Spotify, Apple.
So they'll get this on Wednesday?
They would get this on at least Thursday.
No, that's nice.
Probably sooner than that.
Look at that.
Anytime sooner than that. But right, depends on who. Depends on who's the editor for that week. But at least Thursday. So if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, you'll hear ads. So listen to those for us, and you'll support us that way. So with that, we get into it.
Last week's episode was late because Bang didn't tell me that there was an episode that needed to be edited.
Oh yeah, just on this guy's computer. But at the Battle of Ezra Church, start this out, also known as the Battle of Ezra Chapel, and the Battle of the Poorhouse.
Ooh, I like the Poorhouse.
Took place July 28th, 1864, which saw Union Army forces under Major General William T. Sherman fight Confederate troops led by Lieutenant General John B. Hood in Fulton County, Georgia.
The newly appointed John B. Hood.
Yeah, John B. Hood. Johnny B. Hood. The Battle of Ezra Church was a part of a series of battles in the Atlanta campaign, yes. The main goal of which was to destroy the capabilities of the city of Atlanta. This is going on before, we did the Battle of Atlanta yesterday, right, but this is going on during the battle.
Right.
So, it's an important, the Battle of Peachtree Creek, which we just did last week, had just taken place, forcing General Hood to withdraw in defeat to the final defenses behind Atlanta by July 21st, 1864. I lied, Peachtree Creek was 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, Atlanta. They desperately needed to save Atlanta, and it didn't work.
Well, yeah, spoiler.
Well, Sherman, he believed that Hood was evacuating the city. Sent McPherson to the southeast towards Decatur. Hood, he sent Hardee's corps to meet McPherson and attack on the 22nd of July. General Oliver Howard of the old Union took over the Army of the Tennessee after McPherson was slain in battle.
He was slain.
Yeah, remember, did we have that last week?
We did. It was at the Battle of Atlanta.
Sherman's subsequent movement back west is when the Battle of Ezra Church occurred on the 18th to 28th of July.
10 days.
This was part of Sherman's larger effort to cut and destroy all railroads.
Cut and destroy
Railroad lines.
Right.
No choo-choos here, motherfuckers. By the 24th of July, the Macon and Western line was the only leading line into Atlanta left to destroy.
Okay, well, Sherman's army stretched in and inverted U around the northern defenses of Atlanta.
Damn, they only had one railroad line going into Atlanta. Damn.
Sherman's movements were determined by the plan to cut off the railroad supply lines from Macon into Atlanta, thus
Don't they
forcing
care that it affects the citizens and getting their shipments and
no,
stuff?
because remember, They told all the citizens to get out of Atlanta.
Right, it's true. So if you're there, you're there. Just like Israel said to Gaza.
Well, and then bombed the refugees. But yeah, they wanted to cut off the supply line from making to Atlanta, thus forcing the Confederates to withdraw without a direct assault.
Right.
To accomplish this goal, Sherman commanded his easternmost army under Major General Oliver Howard north and west around the rest of the Union lines to the far western side of Atlanta, where the railroad entered the city.
Fantastic.
Okay, yeah, go destroy it, bud.
Right. General Hood, anticipating Sherman's maneuver, moved his troops to oppose the Union army. Hood planned to intercept them and catch them by surprise. Although Hood's Confederate troops were outnumbered by the main Union army, he calculated that a surprise attack against an isolated portion of the army could succeed. The armies met on the afternoon of 28th of July. There's that 28th of July again. At a church called Ezra Church. It was a chapel. Unfortunately for Hood, Howard was not surprised at all. He was ready and already had reached the road at Ezra Church. And he dug in around 11 a.m. that day.
Right.
He already had entrenchments there.
Howard had predicted such a maneuver based on his knowledge of Hood from their time together at West Point before the war. Oh, look at this.
Anybody
He's
ever
like,
attack Atlanta, this is what I would do.
Or this guy's probably going to come over here and try to surprise us.
All right.
His troops were already waiting in their trenches when Hood reached them. The Confederate Army had also not done enough reconnaissance, underestimated the number of Union troops already present, and made an uncoordinated attack, falling back before the Union Army's improvised breastwork of logs and rails.
Wow.
The rebels were defeated, although they managed to stop Howard from reaching the railroad line. In all, about 3,642 men were casualties. 3,000 on the Confederate side, 642 on the Union side.
Wow, that's, I haven't seen anything lopsided like that in a while.
Prisoners, maybe.
Most likely.
Among the wounded was General Alexander P. Stewart, who led a corps under Hood.
Damn, Confederates just losing their guys. Goodness gracious. Another notable participant was Ernst Torgler. He was a 24-year-old sergeant in the 37th Ohio Infantry, who was later awarded the Medal of Honor for his action there in the battle.
We got a lot of Medal of Honor recipients these last few battles.
Right. Torgler saved the life of a commanding officer, Major Charles Hip.
All right.
He was shot in the hip.
Right.
His citation reads, in part, "At great hazard of his life, he saved his commanding officer, then badly wounded from capture."
Good for him.
Oh, look at that.
Right.
Was he even going to be captured at all? Probably not.
Probably laying on the battlefield or something, right? I would assume so. Picked him up and dragged him over to the lines.
He was going to get captured by a lead ball to the forehead.
Could be like that one dude that got stuck in his head.
And it kept on, after like 30 years, still his pieces was falling out.
Yeah, good for him.
He had a headache every day.
That's going to lead us to the Battle of Killdeer Mountain. And we're going back to
Killdeer,
South Dakota or Dakota.
It's a bird.
Okay. Is it?
Yeah.
It's probably run though.
Instead of hopping.
It's like a roadrunner then?
No.
Also known as Killdeer Mountain is also known as the Battle of Takahakati Mountain. We're going to stick with Killdeer. It took place during Brigadier General Alfred Sully's expedition against the Sioux in Dakota Territory, July 28th to the 29th.
Damn.
The location of the battleground is in modern Dunn County, North Dakota.
All you guys in Dunn County listening to this?
Well, the total, you think they do a reenactment, right?
Yeah, I bet.
With a total of more than 4,000 soldiers involved in the total operation, and more than 2,000 in the battle, Sully's expedition was the largest ever carried out by the U.S. Army against Native Americans ever, dude.
Oh, wow.
Wow. In the aftermath of the Dakota War of 1862, the U.S. government punished the Sioux, including those who had not participated in the war.
Yeah. Damn, these dudes were in the Dakota War, Civil War.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, it's going to be... What is Little Bighorn? That hasn't even happened yet.
Right,
what war is that?
1860 something. That's like the Great Plains or something like that. Large military expeditions into Dakota Territory in 1863 pushed most of the Sioux to the western side of the Missouri River, at least temporarily, and made safer. Although not entirely safe, the frontier of white settlement in Minnesota and the Dakotas.
Make way for the white man.
Right. 4 whites were murdered by Sioux raiders in the spring of 1864.
Poor guys.
An important impetus to another military campaign against the Sioux was the desire to protect lines of communication with recently discovered gold fields in Montana, Idaho. Sad. Freaking money hungry.
Right.
The lifeline for the American gold miners were steamboats plying the Missouri River through the heart of the Sioux territory.
Well, during the winter of 1863 to 64, Sully's superior, Major General John Pope, look at that guy, ordered Sully to establish several forts along the Missouri River and in the eastern Dakotas to secure the communication routes to the gold fields and to eliminate the Sioux threat to the settlers east of the Missouri River. Sully's 1st Brigade, consisting of up to 1,700 men, followed the Missouri River from its starting point at Sioux City, Iowa. 2nd Brigade, with about 1,550 men, would march overland from Fort Ridgely in Minnesota. On the march up the Missouri, the Sioux killed one soldier and wounded another.
Oh.
The 3 Sioux perpetrators were caught, killed, and decapitated. Well, if killed wasn't enough.
Right.
Additional soldiers and civilians with 15 steamboats chugged up the Missouri River to support the army on the ground.
Oh, look at these guys.
Look at them.
Fantastic. Sully's 2 columns of soldiers united on the 29th of June. And then on 7th of July, he established Fort Rice on the Missouri River in North Dakota. He said, this is going to be our base, supplied by steamboat. And he said, this is going to be for a military expedition that I'm about to do.
The base for the military exposition.
Right.
Expedition, yes.
His scouts, Winnebago and friendly Sioux and mixed bloods, informed him of a large encampment of Sioux about 130 miles northwest. Boy, sugar. More. Informed him of a large encampment of Sioux about 130 miles northwest near the Little Missouri River.
That's the thing about these Sioux. There was like many different tribes, and they all hated each
Oh,
other.
yeah, they definitely did. 19th of July, he and his men departed Fort Rice to search for the Sioux encampment. Sully was encumbered by a wagon train of 200 miners and their families.
Oh, jeez.
Headed for the gold fields, who he reluctantly agreed to protect and escort.
Of course, why not? They got probably guns
Being
too.
a
So
bitch, Sully, and just escort these sons of bitches, man.
right. Sully scouts reported 1,500 to 1,800 teepees in the Sioux encampment.
Damn.
Oh shit! Sully believed he would be faced by 5,000 to 6,000 warriors.
I don't think so.
The Sioux later claimed they had about 1,600 warriors in the battle, likely closer to the truth with a calculation of 1 to 2 adult males per teepee.
I would say so.
The Sioux encampment consisted mostly of Lakota from the Hunkpapa, Sihasapa, the Miniconjou, and the Sans Arc bands, plus the Yankatones and a few Santees. Santee Claus. The Sioux were mostly armed with only bows and arrows and a few short-range muskets and shotguns.
Right.
Many of the Sioux, especially the Tetons, who are the Lakotas, had not been hostile to the U.S. before this encounter.
Right. They're like, dude.
They're like, now you're over here trying to force in our hand. What are we supposed to do?
Right. They're like, hey, man, we let you do what you needed to do, and we just kept on sliding our homes.
Shuffling.
Right. Well, we got to do something here, boys. Because I didn't want to even be a part of the other tribes, though. That's the thing.
They're forced to.
Right. They have to now. They hate it. Sully, after leaving men at Fort Rice and to guard the immigrants, had 2,200 men for attack. He also had 2 artillery batteries with 8 howitzers.
Well, that's no fair.
July 26, Sully's Indian scouts skirmished with 30 Sioux warriors near present-day Richardson, North Dakota. And 1 scout was wounded.
Okay, guys.
That's it? Just 1 scout?
There's no need for a D.
Right.
Or the T, actually, I guess. Either way you want to spell it. Richardson.
Right.
Richardson.
Just Richardson.
Right. Richardson.
With the Sioux now aware of his presence, Sully advanced rapidly but carefully. On the morning of the 20th of July, as there was fighting down in Atlanta, there's fighting in North Dakota. Scout Frank Laframboise, a mixed-blood Santee. He's a Santee and a Frenchie and a Santee?
He's a Frenchy Santee.
Right, he's a Francie.
He's a San
Fran.
San Fran.
Cisco
He's a San
tree.
Fran.
Yeah.
He's a San Fran.
I like it. Oh, well, this guy, he informed Sully of the location of the large Sioux encampment about 10 miles ahead. Ooh. About 10 miles ahead, there's a large Sioux encampment.
Well, guess what? These guys already saw you, probably. Mm-hmm. Killdeer Mountain was at the edge of the Dakota Badlands.
Killdeer Mountain. Got Medal of Honor.
Which was cut up by deep impassable ravines and high rugged hills.
Oh.
Realizing that a cavalry charge would be difficult in the broken terrain, Sully dismounted his soldiers and formed them in a hollow square 1.25 miles per side. Oh, jeez.
Damn.
His horses and artillery were sheltered inside the square. Nice. Mm-hmm. He advanced on foot as the Sioux on horseback formed up in groups on Sully's flanks and on hilltops. Damn hilltop Indians. Huh?
You ain't kidding. Wow, let's take a look at what the United States had for this battle. Department of the Northwest, Major General John Pope, but he was not present on the field.
Probably a good thing.
Right. We had the divisions of District of Iowa with Brigadier General Alfred Sully. He had his 1st Brigade, Lieutenant Samuel M. Pollock. You got the 2nd Brigade with Colonel Minor T. Thomas. He has 3 other little companies with him, and the other guy has
little
1,
regiments.
2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has 6 little regiments with him.
Let's take a look at the Native Americans. They got the Lakota, the Dakota. And they had the Lakota, who are the Tetons, and the Dakota, who are the Yanktonais and the Santees. And then we had some Sioux, who are the Gaul.
Why did his name North Dakota, Dakota, and then South Dakota, Lakota?
Sounds like that's the way it works.
It could be South Dakota, North Dakota.
The Sioux had their commanding guys were Gaul, Sitting Bull, and Inkpaduta.
Oh, Inkpaduta.
Inkpaduta. The 2 sides, which were Sully's soldiers drawn up in a hollow square and native forces scattered around the hills, exchanged insults at long distance. Hey, you fuckers! No, fuck you!
Right, and whatever these guys said in Indian.
One warrior, a hunk papa, he's a hunk papa, named Lone Dog, rode within rifle range of the soldiers, taunting them.
Oh, shit.
Sully ordered him shot by sharpshooters.
Oh, shit.
Idiot. Accounts differ as whether Lone Dog was killed or unscathed. Okay. With the first shots fired at Lone Dog, the soldiers advanced with a skirmish line, and the Sioux darted at the flanks of the army, seeking weak spots.
Oh.
That's exactly. The Sioux knows what's going on. Take out those fucking ends first, and then break them down, baby. Yeah. You ain't gonna work well for you guys.
Damn, the Union, they always get stuck with fighting an enemy that has weird yells. You got the Confederates with their rebel yell, and you got the Sioux with their warrior yell.
I don't know if they really did that, though.
That's possible.
They
Artillery,
definitely yelled, for sure.
right. Artillery fire discouraged the Sioux from congregating in large numbers.
I bet they would.
A thrust at Sully's rear was broken up by an artillery shell that felled several of the warriors.
Can't be thrusting Sully's rear.
Right.
Man. Come on.
Sully's square of soldiers advanced steadily. The Sioux quickly realized that they could not hope to turn the soldiers back. Well, you can always hope to do anything, but will you?
Right.
And they shifted their focus to packing up their teepees and equipment and protecting the flight of their women and children. Let's go.
Oh, geez. Attempting to halt Sully's advance, the Sioux mounted chargers on his right and left flanks. The Yanktonais and the Santee attacking on the right and the Teton on his left. Major Alfred B. Brackett and his Minnesota battalion on the right mounted their horses and launched a countercharge supported by artillery.
So what's the big deal? They're going to start packing up the shit. So why don't they just be like, hey, we're leaving, bud, and just have them supervise. Make sure nothing happens. Escort them on the way.
They're attacking the flanks. The Sioux are attacking.
Yeah, but they went back and started packing up the shit.
That's just because they're giving them time to
Right.
pack up.
It's true. Well, they can be like, hey, we're packing up.
Right, man, we're done. Okay. Well, unfortunately for the Sioux, Brackett scattered the native forces after close quarters fighting with sabers and pistols.
Uh-oh.
A renowned hero of the frontier in the Civil War, Lieutenant George Northrup, was killed in this charge.
Oh, no. Asshole.
I feel like we've heard of him before.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. It was getting dark, and Sully neared the Sioux village. He halted.
Don't start slaughtering women and children.
Right. He halted his men for the night, but continued his artillery bombardment of the Sioux and their village.
I'm willing to bet some women and children died.
The Sioux fled or fought, delaying actions, abandoning most of their teepees and property. Sully's
They had
casualties.
to leave behind some buffalo pelts.
Right. Sully's casualties for the day were 3 killed and 10 wounded. He estimated about 100 and 150 Sioux dead. Nearly all of them warriors.
Nearly.
They lie. The Sioux claimed that they suffered 31 dead.
I'm willing to bet the Sioux are telling more truth here than Sully is. Well, the day after the battle, the Sioux having abandoned their encampment, Sully detailed 700 men to destroy all they had left behind. This included teepees, large supplies of dried buffalo meat, which is jerky. Don't know why you would do that. Why do they do that? Take it.
Take it.
And up to 3,000 dogs, which were shot. Why?
Because they didn't want them to be... They had to put them out of business. 3,000 dogs. Holy shit.
Yeah, man, hunting partners, baby. A few Sioux, including children, left behind in the camp were killed by the Winnebago Scouts.
What? No way.
Why?
Why would you guys do that, Winnebago?
Jeez. Most of the Sioux scattered through the Dakota Badlands to the west of Killdeer Mountain, but some remained near Sully. What a bunch of fucking pieces of shit, dude.
Yeah,
and these are the only Indians, guys. I mean...
Right.
No, I don't want to hear nothing about, oh, we took their land. You just see right here.
Right.
Indians participating willingly, killing each other.
Right. It's just, they're savages.
Barely human.
Several Sioux on a hilltop waved a white flag requesting talks.
It's a movie.
But they were fired by soldiers and fled.
This Friday.
Right.
Several Sioux on a hilltop.
I mean, if you're waving a white flag, that's like a war crime to keep on firing at them.
Well,
Unions.
Well, I don't think they can. Dude, they're barely human.
Right.
So they treated them as.
Damn. That night, 2 of Sully's picket guards were murdered. So much for that white.
Well, see, right.
And 1 wounded by a Sioux war party. Another soldier was murdered by guards when he was mistaken for an enemy.
Well, idiots.
Friendly fire. You guys haven't learned enough from Stonewall? You idiots. Although running short of rations, Sully decided to continue his pursuit of the Sioux. A Blackfoot scout said he knew a route through...
His pursuit of the Sioux and a Blackfoot scout said he knew a route.
A Blackfoot scout said he knew a route through the Badlands passable by Sully's wagon train. After 2 days' rest, Sully and his men plunged into the unknown terrain ahead. The Sioux would harass their passage in the Battle of the Badlands.
We'll have that coming up. Killdeer Mountain Battlefield State Historic Site marks part of the battlefield and is protected by the State Historical Society of North Dakota. This features a sandstone slab monument, a flagpole, and 2 headstones that honor soldiers killed in the conflict. Sergeant George Northup, Company C, and Private Horace Austin, Company D, Brackett's Battalion, Minnesota Cavalry. The site is located 8.5 miles northwest of Killdeer, North Dakota.
Fantastic. So if you guys are 8.5 miles northwest of Killdeer, go and check it out.
Right.
So all that could have been avoided.
Obviously, they could have just been like, pack your shit up, leave. We'll let you leave. We'll watch.
We'll let you leave. We'll watch. They could have sent old Manakambu over there and talked to him and be like, hey, man.
Manakambu, yep. Yep. The old famous Indian scout, Manakambu. Everybody knows him.
Right.
All right, that's going to lead us to the Battle of the Crater. It was part of the battle, Siege of Petersburg on July 30th, 1864. A little recap here. Petersburg was an important railhead where 4 railhead lines from the south met before they continued to Richmond, which was the capital of the Confederates. Obviously, most supplies to General Lee's army in Richmond funneled through that location. Consequently, the Union regarded it as the back door to Richmond. And obviously, the Confederates would consider that necessary for defense of it, right?
Fantastic, right. The result, Siege of Petersburg. It was actually trench warfare rather than true siege, as the armies were aligned along a series of fortified positions in trenches more than 20 miles long.
Jeez.
Extending from Old Cold Harbor battlefield near Richmond to areas of south of Petersburg. After old General Lee stopped Grant's attempt to seize Petersburg on the 15th of June, the battle settled into a stalemate. Grant, he had learned a hard lesson at Cold Harbor about attacking Lee in a fortified position and was chafing at the inactivity to which Lee's trenches and forts had confined him to. He's like, I can't do nothing. So inactive.
Shit's boring.
Right. Wow. Finally, Lieutenant Colonel Henry Pleasants, commanding the 48th Pennsylvania Infantry of Major General Ambrose Burnside's Ninth Corps, offered a novel proposal to break the impasse. He was like, guess we can try this.
Well, Pleasants, who was a mining engineer from Pennsylvania in civilian life, proposed digging a long mine shaft under the Confederate Army lines and planting explosive charges directly underneath a fort, which was Elliott's Salient, in the middle of the Confederate First Corps line. Look at this guy. If successful, not only would all the defenders in the area be killed, but also a hole in the Confederate defenses would be opened. If enough Union troops filled the breach quickly enough and drove into the Confederate rear area, the Confederates would not be able to muster enough force to drive them out, and Petersburg might fall. Burnside, whose reputation had suffered from his 1862 defeat at the Battle of Fredericksburg,
Yeah, he did some terrible stuff then.
and his poor performance earlier this year in the Battle of Spotsylvania Courthouse.
That one's probably worse.
He's like, what do I got to lose here? Let's go for it, Pleasant.
He's like, let's check it out. Digging began late June, but even Grant and Meade saw the operation as a mere way to keep the men occupied, and he even doubted of any actual tactical value to this. He's like, let's just waste all of our energy digging. They quickly lost interest, and Pleasants soon found himself with few materials for his project, and his men even had to forage for wood to support the structure. Yeah, I mean, come on, it's way too much. Work progressed steadily, however, though. Earth was removed by hand, packed into improvised sledges made from cracker boxes fitted with handles, and the floor, wall, and the ceiling of the mine were shored up with timbers from an abandoned wood mill, and even from tearing down an old bridge.
for them. The shaft was elevated.
Seems like a lot of work.
Well, they got.
And then you got to go fight afterwards.
You got 50,000 men just standing around. Might as well do something.
Right.
The shaft was elevated as it moved toward the Confederate lines to make sure moisture did not clog up the mine, and fresh air was drawn in by an ingenious air exchange mechanism near the entrance.
What's that?
A canvas partition isolated the miners' air supply from outside air and allowed miners to enter and exit the work area easily. The miners had constructed a vertical exhaust shaft located well behind Union lines. At the vertical shaft's base, a fire was kept continuously burning to get that oxygen. A wooden duct ran the entire length of the tunnel and protruded into the outside air.
Oh, wow. Look at these guys. Good for you. Fire heated stale air inside the tunnel, drawing it up the exhaust shaft out of the mine by the chimney effect.
Nice.
The resultant vacuum then sucked fresh air into from the mine entrance via the wooden duct, which carried it down the length of the tunnel to place in which the miners were working. That avoided the need for additional ventilation shafts, which could have been observed by the enemy.
Right.
And it also easily disguised the diggers' progress.
July 17th, the main shaft reached under the Confederate position. Rumors of a mine construction soon reached the Confederates, but Lee refused to believe or act upon them for 2 weeks before he commenced countermining attempts, which were sluggish and uncoordinated and were unable to discover the mine. However, General John Pegram, whose batteries would be above the explosion, took the threat seriously enough to build a new line of trenches and artillery points behind his position as a precaution.
Nice.
Just dig further. Yeah, that's all you got to do. Just keep digging and they keep moving back.
Right.
Yeah, bitches.
Wow. Shafts were also sunk by the Confederates in an effort to intercept the passage. Pleasance became aware of the Confederate counter movements and was able to frustrate their effort by changing the direction of the main and lateral galleries while increasing their depth below the surface. The mine was in a T shape. The approach shaft was 511 feet long, starting in a sunken area downhill and more than 50 feet below the Confederate battery, making detection difficult.
Jeez.
Yeah, 50 feet? That's a long way to dig.
Well, the tunnel entrance was narrow, about 3 feet wide, 4.5 feet high. At its end, a perpendicular gallery of 75 feet extended in both directions.
Damn.
Grant and Meade suddenly decided to use the mine 3 days after it was completed, after a failed attack known later as the First Battle of Deep Bottom, which we had.
Right.
Union soldiers filled the mine with 320 kegs of gunpowder, totaling 8,000 pounds. The explosives, dude, that's more than the bomb that blew up the Timothy McVeigh bomb, dude. It was only like 3,000 pounds.
Shit.
The explosives were approximately 20 feet under the Confederate works, and the T-gap was packed shut with 11 feet of earth in the side galleries.
Oh, wow.
Further 32 feet of packed earth was placed in the main gallery to prevent the explosion blasting out of the mouth of the mine.
All right.
On July 28th, the powder charges were armed.
Uh-oh. Burnside had trained a division of the United States Colored Troops under Brigadier General Edward Ferrero to lead the assault. The division consisted of 2 brigades, one designated to go on to the left of the crater and the other to the right. A regiment from both brigades was to leave the attack column and extend the breach by rushing perpendicular to the crater. And the remaining regiments were to rush through seasoned Jerusalem Plank Road just 1,600 feet beyond, followed by the churchyard and, if possible, Petersburg itself. Old Burnside's 2 other divisions made up of white troops would then move in, supporting Fiero's flanks and race for Petersburg itself.
Well, 2 miles behind the front lines, out of sight of the Confederates, the men of the U.S. CT Division were trained for 2 weeks on the plan. Wow. Despite the careful planning and the intensive training on the day before the attack, Meade, who lacked confidence in the operation, ordered Burnside not to use the black troops in the lead assault.
Oh.
He claimed that the attack failed, black soldiers would be killed needlessly, creating political repercussions in the North.
It's true.
Meade may have also ordered the change of plans because he lacked confidence in the black soldiers' abilities in combat.
I think that was it.
Probably.
Wow.
We'll just disguise it as a political reason.
All right. Burnside protested to Grant, who sided with Meade.
Of course, you can't just not.
Right. When volunteers were not forthcoming, Burnside selected a replacement white division by having the 3 commanders draw lots. Brigadier General James Ledley's 1st Division was selected, but he failed to brief the men on what was expected of them. Wow. And was reported during the battle to be drunk, well behind the lines, and not even providing any type of leadership. He was pissed. He's like, why could you send those old coloreds? Now we got to go die?
Oh.
Ledley would be dismissed for his actions during the battle. I bet he would. He should have been hung.
Well, this plan called for the mine to be detonated between 3:30 and 3:45 a.m. Damn, doing it SWAT team style. Come in there while you're sleeping. On the morning of July 30th, Pleasance lit the fuse accordingly, but as with the rest of the mine's provisions, they had been given poor quality fuses, which his men were forced to splice themselves.
Oh, no.
After more and more time passed and no explosion occurred, the impending dawn creating a threat to the men at the staging points, 2 volunteers from the 48th Regiment, Lieutenant Jacob Dowdy and Sergeant Harry Reese, crawled into the tunnel.
Oh, no. After discovering that the fuse had burned out at a splice in the line, they spliced on a length of new fuse, and they said, let's do it again. Fire in the hole, bitches. Finally, 4:44 a.m., the charges exploded in a massive shower of earth, men, and guns. A crater still visible today was created, 170 feet long, 120 feet wide, and at least 30 feet deep.
Wow.
The explosion immediately killed 278 Confederate soldiers of the 18th and 22nd South Carolina. And it also stunned Confederate troops, and they did not direct any significant rifle artillery fire at the enemy for at least 15 minutes.
That's a long time.
Bro.
Well, fortunately for them, Ledley's untrained division was not prepared for the explosion, and reports indicate they waited 10 minutes before leaving their own entrenchments. Footbridges were supposed to have been placed to allow them to cross their own trenches quickly. Because they were missing, however, the men had to climb into and out of their own trenches just to reach no man's land.
Man.
Once they wandered to the crater, instead of moving around it as the troops had been trained, they thought it would make an excellent rifle pit in which to take cover.
No.
You're 30 feet down. What the fuck are you going to do?
Right, dude, they can just surround there and start just like freaking fish in a barrel. Oh, wow. They therefore moved down to the crater itself, wasting valuable time and realizing too late that the crater was much too deep and exposed to function as a rifle pit, and quickly becoming overcrowded while the old Rebs, under Brigadier General William Mahoney, gathered as many troops together as they could for a counterattack. In about 1 hour, they had formed up around the crater. Oh, my gosh. And began firing rifles and artillery down into it that Mahone later describes as a turkey shoot.
Oh,
my dude. Wow.
The plan had obviously failed, but Burnside, instead of cutting his losses, sent in Ferrero's men. He's like, I'm getting these coloreds in here one way or another.
Go in the crater.
Right. Now faced with considerable flanking fire, they also descended into the crater.
Oh, no.
For the next few hours, Mahoney's soldiers, along with those of Major General Bushrod Johnson and artillery, slaughtered the 9 Corps as the Union soldiers attempted to escape from the crater or surrender. The black Union soldiers who attempted to surrender were specifically targeted for battlefield execution, or, if they were taken as prisoners, executed in the rear.
Oh, my gosh. Come on, Rebs. This is your chance to be, like, a little better. You're just going to start slaughtering colored troops?
What? Idiots to go in a fucking hole.
That's 30 feet deep.
That is just terrible.
You know what? This would be good. When a bullet's flying past our head, we can get in the crater. There you can go. Yeah, all right. Wow. Son, which one do you want? I want that one over there.
Go ahead.
Doc Law.
Close your eyes. You'll get something.
Right. Wow. Oh, my gosh. Then they don't have to worry about burying these guys.
All right. Just fill it.
Oh, my goodness. Some Union troops eventually advanced and flanked to the right beyond the crater to the earthworks and assaulted the old Confederate line, driving the old Rebs back for several hours in hand-to-hand combat.
Nice.
Mahone's Confederate conducted a sweep of a sunken gully about 200 yards from the right side of the Union advance. The charge reclaimed the earthworks and drove the Union force back towards the east. Uh-oh, we got some back and forth action going on here.
Following the crater affair, a Reb wrote his home folk that all the colored prisoners, quote-unquote, would have been killed had it not been for General Mahone, who begged our men to spare them. One of his comrades killed several, he continued. Mahone told him, for God's sake, stop. Stop. Jeez. The man replied, well, Jen, let me kill one more. Whereupon, according to the correspondent, he deliberately took out his pocket knife and cut one's throat. This was said by Bell I. Wiley in the book The Life of a Johnny Reb, the common soldier of the Confederacy.
No, that's not the common soldier of the Confederacy, I guess.
Probably.
Yeah. Wow, dude.
Oh, my.
This is as bad for both sides.
Right.
Goodness gracious. Union casualties, 3,798, 504 killed, 1,881 wounded, 1,413 missing or captured. The old Rebs had 1,491 casualties with 361 moited, and most of those was in the explosion.
Right.
727 wounded and 403 missing or captured. Wow. Disproportionate Union losses were suffered by Fierro's division of the United States colored troops, many of whom were executed on the battlefield or in the rear. Compared to the average ratio for Civil War battles of 4.8 wounded to 1 dead, for black troops at the crater, it was 1.8 to 1. Oh, my goodness. Both black and white wounded prisoners were taken to the Confederate hospital at Poplar Lawn in Petersburg.
Well, Meade brought charges against Burnside because, of course, and a subsequent court of inquiry censored Burnside, along with Brigadier Generals Ledley Ferrero. Well, it wasn't Ferrero's fault. I guess it was, right?
Ledley's fault.
Orlando B. Wilcox and Colonel Zenas Bliss. Burnside was never again assigned to duty.
Wow.
Although he was as responsible for the defeat as Burnside, Meade escaped immediate censure, of course. However, early 1865, the Congressional Joint Committee on the Conduct of the War exonerated Burnside and condemned Meade for changing the plan of the attack, which did little good for Burnside, whose reputation is already ruined. Right, it was Meade that they spent 2 weeks training the one regiment, and then just, nope, I don't want to do that no more.
Wow.
And then hire some drunk, probably Grant's best friend or something.
Right.
Probably getting wasted with Grant.
You ain't
kidding.
kidding.
And then Grant's like, all right, old chap, go to battle.
Let's see what you got, bud. You think I'm good? Yeah, you got it, bud. All you got to do is point your sword.
Right.
Oh, man.
Speaking of that, where is it?
Here's a biscuit. As for Mahone, the victory won largely because of his efforts in supporting Johnson's stunned men, earned him a lasting reputation as one of the best young generals of Lee's army in the last years of the war.
Good for you.
Grant wrote to Chief of Staff Henry Halleck, "It was the saddest affair I have witnessed in this war." He also stated, Halleck, "Such an opportunity for carrying fortifications I have never seen and do not expect again to have." Wow.
Right, they could have just
annihilated
them. Pleasance, who had no role in the battle itself, received praise for his idea and its execution, though. Oh. When he was appointed a brevet brigadier general March 13th, 1865, the citation made explicit mention of his role. Oh. Grant subsequently gave in his evidence before the Committee on the Conduct of the War, which said General Burnside wanted to put his colored division in front, and I believe if he had done so, it would have been a success.
I think so.
Still, I agreed with General Meade as to his objections to that plan. You can't not agree with the guy that's running the army.
All right.
How would that look?
Wow. General Meade said that if we put the colored troops in front, we had only one division, and it should prove a failure. It would be then said, and very properly, that we were shoving these people ahead to get moited because we do not care anything about them. But
see, this is where politics and shit and the thinking of what people think about you comes into play of this war so many fucking times.
He's like, but that could not be said if we put the white troops in front. Quote, end quote. Wow. Despite the battle being a tactical Confederate victory, strategic situation in the Eastern Theater remained unchanged. Both sides remained in the trenches, and the siege continued. All for naught.
The area of the Battle of the Crater is frequently visited portion of the Petersburg National Battlefield Park.
Holy shit.
The mine entrance is open for inspection annually on the anniversary of the battle. There are sunken areas where air shafts and cave-ins extend up to the T-shape near the end. The park includes many other sites, primarily those that were a portion of the Union lines around Petersburg.
That reminds me of that commercial. I just picture all those Union guys running down to the crater. There's a commercial where they're out in the country and the guy's got a chainsaw, and everybody's like, "Where do we hide? Let's get in that car and drive away. Look, a running car." They're like, "No, are you stupid? Let's go over there with all those fucking."
Oh, it's like a shed with hanging.
Right. And the guy's like,
in it,
"What the hell?" That's what it reminds me of. Let's run into the crater. Don't look at that, dude. How stupid could you be? Or it's like the sheep going off the edge of the cliff.
Or like the buffalo.
Right.
That's just sad.
Wow, the Battle of the Crater was graphically portrayed in the opening scenes of 2003 film Cold Mountain. If you guys ever seen it. Starring Jude Law as a Confederate soldier. I think he gets wounded and he ends up in the forest and two women take care of him or something.
Sure.
I believe so. The film inaccurately depicts the giant explosion occurring in broad daylight. It actually happened in darkness at 4:44 a.m.
Okay, obviously we know why they did it
in
day.
Right. Well, it can't be Godzilla. Also, that fight scenes in the dark.
No, they didn't. They had
in the first one.
No, I'd say you've never seen the new one, but I don't think there's any dark night scenes. Anywho, that's going to do it for us in this episode of Battle of the American Civil War.
This has to be the most stupidest leadership I've seen so far. And we thought McClellan was bad. Right. Holy Burnside.
Yeah, Burnside's terrible. Get that guy out of anywhere near these.
And holy Ledley. Look, a crater. Let's get in there, guys. Oh, my goodness.
Well, he wasn't even there.
Right.
He was drunk.
Right.
Everybody else just decided to go in it. Imagine being that first guy that let everybody in there.
Right. Son of a bitch.
Well, coming up next week, we got some more.
That was an A battle, too.
So it was. I would suspect it would be.
Wow.
Coming up next week, we got some more Atlanta campaign. We're at the Battle of Browns Mill in Georgia.
Georgia?
Then we head back to Arkansas for the Battle of Fort Smith.
Ooh.
And we'll probably have the Battle of Falks Mill in Maryland.
Ooh, another A battle coming up. A Mobile.
And Battle of Mobile Bay is probably going to be...
Decent.
Couldn't be one by itself. There might be another one with it, but... Don't know. So, yeah, I guess it's going to be Mobile Bay, a big A battle to end it, just like the Battle of the Crater ended this one. Yeah, cool. That's in Alabama. What the fuck is going on in Alabama right now? It's a naval and land engagement. Dave Farragut.
Where'd Farragut come from?
What is this?
Oh, and Buchanan's there, too.
This is Operations in Mobile Bay, which is the first battle.
Shit, you had Buchanan and who you got from the... Yeah, Buchanan from the Rebs. I was wondering where he went. Oh, he's admiral anyway, so he's going to stay on the waters. For what?
Oh, they're guarding the entrance to Mobile Bay because they want to get into Mobile Bay. So the Union are like, you got to go. You got to go.
Yeah.
You got to go.
3 gunboats, 1 ironclad, 1,500 men. The Union had 12 wooden ships, 2 gunboats, 4 ironclads, and 5,500 men. Oh, my.
Didn't do too well for them. But they won the battle. Spoiler alert. Yeah, so that's our next episode coming up. Reminder, go look at YouTube. Go check out our YouTube. Where right now, for 99 cents a month, you can join the channel. Not only do you get this show, you get our Outlaws and Gunslingers show as well. At least a day early of their respective releases. At least, I say that. Because it's most likely going to be 2 or 3 days before. But 99 cents, if that's your thing, you want it early, then join the page. Or else just keep listening the way you do. Either way's fine with us. And we'll be back next week for some more Battles of the American Civil War. We are the Month of Michigan.